state laws can be conceptualized as either general or specific. When we say yung concepts on the first on the on the second column, law in general speaks of well the whole of the whole gamut of laws that we are talking about, like the law of the land, kung ano ba yung mga laws natin sa paligid. Kumbaga, it's more of a general conception, it's more of a general idea when we speak of law in general. If we speak of law is if we speak of a specific law, for example, there are many laws, right? And that those are collectively called as law in the general sense. Pero there are specific laws that are that govern human behavior. For example, civil law, where obligations and contracts is, as you will see later on, it is within the realm of civil law. And if we look more specifically, it is under law on obligations and contracts. The law on obligations and contracts refer to to a number of articles in the civil code. So, ayan. So, that's law in the general and specific sense. Laws can be characterized into four things. Una, laws are rules of conduct. Ibig sabihin, itong mga batas na to ay they regulate the conduct of humans. They make you behave in a certain way. Kung baka kinokontrol niya yung galaw ng bawat tao. For example, a law that says bawal pumatay, just like what we have said a while ago, it regulates your conduct in a sense na you will not kill because it will have consequences. So it regulates you to conduct in a certain way. Or for example, when you see yung pedestrian lane, for example, you are directed, kahit na even if there's no enforcer there, you are bound to go there sa lane, pedestrian lane, because the law says that you need to follow that. Otherwise, there will be consequences if you are caught. So, in somehow it regulates your conduct. It directs you to behave in a certain way. So, it is considered a rule of conduct. Next, laws are also obligatory. They are obligatory in a sense that you need to follow, otherwise there will be consequences. You are required to follow it at all costs. Otherwise, the government can sanction you. They can throw you in jail. They can fine you for not doing for doing what is prohibited, and they can require you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. Like you would not, of course, hindi ayaw mo magbayad ng taxes daily, ayaw mo magbayad ng taxes, right? But you are obliged to pay your taxes because there are consequences if you don't. The law has a lot of means to enforce yung power ng batas over us. For example, on the provision na bawal ka you are not allowed to steal someone's possession, di ba? If you don't follow that, there will be consequences. Gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, pwede kang hulihin ng state for not following the law. Because at the end of the day, again, it is obligatory. Laws are obligatory. Another characteristic is that laws are promulgated by legitimate authority. What does this mean? Laws are crafted and enacted by Congress. Si Congress ang gumagawa niyan. And at the end of the day, this is passed to the president for signing, and then it becomes a law. There is a these laws are what do you call this? These laws are created because of the legitimacy that we give to the government. We recognize our government as a legitimate body, and we recognize the Congress as a legislative body that is authorized to make laws for us. And the same way, ganun din sa president. We legitimize the president to enforce kung ano man yung mga batas natin. So, as long as the government enjoys the legitimacy na binibigay ng mga tao, then these laws are perfectly valid. Now, uh, of course, in our class, ano, I can say, I for one, I can create my own laws. For example, bawal uh, bawal bawal ang pangit sa class. So, that is a rule, right? And that could very well be considered as law in my class. But in relation to the whole, it is not a valid law because I am not a legitimate authority to create laws. Tama. In the context ng sa konteksto ng ng bansa natin, I am not a legislator, so I cannot legislate on that. Yung merits ng legislation na is another issue, but then again, I am not a legitimate authority to make laws. So I cannot make them obligatory. I cannot direct the conduct of human behavior because I am not a legitimate authority. Yun lang naman yung point nan. So again, in our case, only the legislature has the power to make these laws. So it's a function of the legislative department, which consists of yung mga congressman natin and yung mga senador. And finally, the law is of common observance and benefit. Now, the idea is that the laws must be observed by everyone. Kaya nga sabi ko kanina, it should direct the conduct of everyone. And it must be for common benefit as well. Hindi pwedeng yung mga batas natin are just favoring the benefit of some people. Hindi pwedeng yung mga batas natin nagbibigay ng benefit sa kunwari, sa isa, dalawang tao, mga ganun. But it must be for the benefit of everyone. Kumbaga, the benefit of ang mas pinapanigan ng batas ay yung benefit ng mas nakararami as opposed to the benefit of one or a few. For example, so sir, so ibig sabihin hindi kung may benefit lahat kailangan lahat kailangan mabigyan. For example, sa 4Ps dapat ba lahat kailangan bigyan ng pera on a regular basis? Well, in that case, yung mga ganong legislation kasi are geared towards what do you call this? These are social justice legislations. Kumbaga, those who need it more must be given more. Like, for example, of course, 4Ps, the 4Ps, ang purpose ng 4Ps as a law is to to assist yung mga mahihirap to have a better life. Do rich people need that? Of course not. Hindi na nila kailangan yan. So, the law must be directed only towards yung mga mahihirap. But does that mean that it does not it is not for common benefit? Of course it's for common benefit kasi if the lives of the poor are benefited, if the lives of the poor are made better, hindi lang silang mag-benefit doon kundi the whole of society. So it's still for common benefit. So let's go now to the sources of laws in the sources of state law in the Philippines. Of course, first and foremost is the Constitution. The Constitution is considered as a supreme law of the land because ito yung pinakamataas sa lahat ng mga batas, and all other laws, lahat ng mga batas ay kailangan sumunod dito sa Constitution, otherwise they may be declared unconstitutional by the courts. Ngayon, sa kasalukuyan, we are using the 1987 Constitution, as you may know perhaps from your other subjects. And again, this Constitution is the basis ng lahat ng mga batas that will follow. So, kailangan sumunod ang lahat ng batas dito sa Constitution nito. And the next one is on legislations. Legislations, these are laws created by Congress that again in order to manage the behavior of people. Now, lahat ng mga batas sa ngayon ay galing na sa Congress because it is what is mandated under the 1987 Constitution. But there are times that yung sources natin ng batas and sometimes yung mga nagiging na-consider na for a while na-consider na batas yung mga tinatawag natin na executive orders. If we look for example doon sa structure ng Philippine government, supposedly the president is just the role of the president is just to implement yung mga batas natin. And the president comes up with executive orders para i-implement itong mga batas na to. Currently, the president does not have the power to make laws. Walang karapatan ng presidente gumawa ng mga batas that has no basis na legislation. But during the time of Marcos, we have what we call presidential decrees. And during the time of Cory, the first few years of Cory's reign, we have these executive orders wherein itong mga enactments ng mga presidenteng ito, Marcos and Cory, were considered as laws as if they are passed by Congress. So, in this case, executive orders can be the source of laws as well. And another source of state law are judicial decisions. This means that the decisions of the Supreme Court on matters relating to the interpretation of laws is also considered as a source of law. For example, if the Congress, for example, created a law pero hindi ito malinaw or there is it cannot be it is subject to several interpretations. The interpretation of the Supreme Court is what is considered as the correct interpretation, and such interpretation becomes part of the law. So, in a sense, it is a source of state law as well. Kasi doon napapaliwanag kung ano bang ibig sabihin nung batas na ginawa ng Congress. So, those are the sources of state law again. The Constitution, legislations, executive orders or presidential decrees, and judicial decisions.